What's the scariest non-supernatural thing that has ever happened to you? Huddling up in my brother's room as a 5 or 6 year old making our plan to get my mom's boyfriend to stop beating her in the living room. My brother was maybe 8 or 9. Okay, you go run to the phone and call 911 and I'll go out there with the hockey stick and hit him. I don't remember much else after that. Just us both running out there with our hockey sticks and our plan ultimately working. For the night, he was arrested but was back the next day. I know this sequence of events happened more than once, and my job was always to run into the kitchen to call 911. Obviously back when we had to reply on the house phone, because I could crouch and remain mostly unseen behind the counter since I was so young. Just going out there and seeing my strong, wonderful mom so vulnerable on the floor, and the look on her face. Terrifying being so scared for both your mom and yourself. My sister has mental health issues. We were in a foreign country, driving across mountains on a 1-lane dirt road with no guardrails. She had a complete mental breakdown and threatened many times to drive off the edge. To this day, my mom swears my sister wouldn't have done it. All I say is, you weren't in the car, you have no idea. The ballistic missile alert in Hawaii of 2018. We legitimately thought we were going to be hit, but played it cool in front of the kids so they wouldn't panic. Drove to the windward side because we figured they'd be aiming for Pearl Harbor/Hickam and a mountain between us would do the trick. And if it didn't, at least we'd die looking at something beautiful. I was 14, alone at my grandma's house around midnight. She was across the street at the bar she owned. I was playing games on her computer, about 15 feet from one of the windows facing the backyard. All of a sudden the glass from that window shatters, and I ran to one of the bedrooms. I can hear my name being called. Eventually I see my grandma's ex-boyfriend enter the living room, where the computer is. He keeps saying my name. I'm scared but I walk out and confront him. He says my grandma stole his ID and that's what he came for, as he's taking money from my grandma's purse. He looks like he is on something. I would later learn he liked to smoke crack. I forget how he leaves, but when he does I call the bar and people come over looking for him. They didn't find him. About a year later he did it again, and I was once again alone there, except this time instead of breaking a window he decides to try to kick the side door in. I'm just there chilling, when out of nowhere I hear the loudest bangs coming from the side of the house and I instantly knew what was happening. I immediately called the bar, and they sent a bunch of people over before he could make it in. He apparently tried to jump from one of her sheds into the alley next to her house, and broke his leg. He went to prison. Being on the phone to my partner and hearing her be in a car accident, longest few minutes of my life. She was picking me up and was about a minute away when she called to see where I was. She was waiting at an intersection, and when the traffic light went green, traveling straight, and was T-boned by someone in a truck. I don't think I've ever run so fast in my life. Fortunately, they hit the passenger side, and there was no oncoming traffic at the time. When I got there, the other driver was at her door and trying to open it to get her out. He probably had good intentions and was trying to help, but I gave him a serve. She was only scratched up in the end, but I've never seen her look so small and frightened. Look before you cross an intersection, everyone, even if the light is green. As a kid I rode my bike home from school. Just as school got out it was raining lightly. I got about 50 yards down the sidewalk when a sudden bolt of lightning exploded in the soccer field to my right, about 40 yards away. Then I saw 2 girls lying down in the grass. I actually thought they were joking at first, but no one was laughing, and they weren't moving. Getting a better grasp of the situation I turned around and huddled under the overhang of the school. I stood there and watched as a pet teacher did CPR and eventually ambulances came. They were taken away and there I was just left waiting, scared to ride my bike home, lest some bolt jump down and kill me. But my parents were both at work and more than an hour away, so I just mustered up the courage and rode home about 2 miles. Without any further incident, both girls survived and eventually returned to school. I still have more than a healthy respect for lightning and don't particularly care to be outside at all if it's occurring. Hurrying up and trying to pack my things before my mom came home. I had broken down at school one day and told my principal the stuff my mom had been doing to me for almost a decade. Cass was called along with both my parents. My mom was notified first about what I said, and the principal didn't allow my dad to take me out of school until 4.5 hours later when the school day actually ended. Going to my apartment and packing up my stuff was the most fear I had ever experienced. Going down into the car park to see if my mom's sports car was there scared the crap out of me. Hurrying and grabbing any clothes and books I could find and stuffing them in a tote bag was nerve-wracking. Searching the entire house for my phone and meds made me feel like my mom was about to pop around a corner. I had a total nervous meltdown when my cat escaped from her carrier and went behind the couch, because I knew if my mom came home and saw my cat after being notified of what happened at school point, I don't think my cat would have lasted long. The second my cat came back out of the couch, I grabbed her so quickly and bolted out of that apartment. Driving away from that apartment complex, I noticed every red sports car on the road, and every single one made me hold my breath. That day scared me so bad I couldn't stop trembling for days, and for weeks I was hallucinating that I was still in my old apartment, and whenever I saw my dad I thought he was my mom. I was about 19. Petite young blonde who looked even younger than I was. I was on a bus home after a night class. A man got on the bus and made eye contact with me, and my blood immediately went cold. I got off the bus and started walking home, and luckily checked behind me. The creepy man who had boarded the bus a few stops before had gotten off too, and he was staring directly at me. I had two routes home: through a short alley or across a large field. I darted through the alley and could hear him running behind me, so I jumped my neighbor's fence and hid behind their shed. I climbed a few more fences until I got to a neighbor I knew decently well and knocked on their back door, scaring the crap out of them. My neighbor walked me the rest of the way to my house, but I'm absolutely certain if I hadn't outrun that man I wouldn't have survived. He had evil in his eyes. Getting caught in a whiteout on top of a mountain in Iceland with only a light jacket, jeans, okayish boots, and a beanie. I signed up for a tour of a volcano, and all the info on the site said it would be hot and that there would be moving lava there, and to dress for warm weather, and because of that I didn't wear any winter gear. Well, when we get there turns out everything's frozen, and there's no lava to be seen, only some ash that you could walk on. I asked the tour guide, who told us on the way there that once we got there we were on our own until the pickup time, where I could see some lava, and she told me that if I climbed the trail up the mountain opposite of the volcano and got higher than the peak of the volcano, I might be able to see. She goes, "Oh yeah, you've got good boots, you'll be fine, you should go try it." Well, I get up a certain point, feel exhausted and wanna turn back, and then tell myself, no, you made it this far, you're not going to give up like you always do, you made it to the gates, now keep going. Big mistake. I get higher up, and the entire top half of the mountain is sheer ice with almost no trail left at all. I was doing my best to walk a fair distance behind a group that was going up at the same time, but eventually the path became super thin and the wind started kicking up. Plus I was having a really hard time breathing. Partially altitude, partially asthma. All of a sudden I start feeling what feels like little bullets in my face and hands, and realize it's tiny hail, and lots of it. I then pause to Olympus blow your mind, and put my AirPods away, and decide, okay, yeah, time to go back. Too late though. In less than 10 seconds it became a whiteout. My hood kept getting knocked off because of the wind, so I had to keep putting it back on with my hands, but that meant they were still freezing and getting pelted with hail. I feel my life slipping away as I lose feeling in my hands and legs. I tried running, but I kept getting blown back and couldn't tell where I was going. And then it hits me. I'm going to die. I was only 20 years old, and I was about to lose my life on my first ever solo vacation. I panicked, but I accepted this was the end. But then I got so lucky and a group of people came up and saw me. I begged them for help, and one of them, who happened to be another tour guide who hates the tours that mislead people, took me halfway off the mountain. She then goes, okay, from here the storm shouldn't be too bad. Just keep going straight and you'll make it. I thank her and start moving. Unfortunately, the storm then triples in intensity and my big fear comes true. I slip and start falling off the mountain. I dug my hands into the ice while halfway dangling off the edge and was screaming out for help. Luckily this absolute giga-chad of a man named Marco, hope you're reading this buddy, comes and grabs me, then proceeds to give me his gloves and helps haul my A off the mountain. I feel like I'm not gonna make it though, so I tell him if I die, my name is, and I'll never forget what he said back to me. You're not gonna die today. You're not gonna die tomorrow either. Not for a long time. Man single-handedly saved my life and stuck with me until I got to the very bottom. Wish I got his contact info so I could somehow give him a proper thank you. I show up 40 minutes late to the bus and my tour guide just looks at me and says all monotone, "There you are." Like, yeah, here I am. I lived. Turns out the group evacuated the mountain because they saw the storm coming in and she knew I was up there but had no intentions of calling for help. So yeah, please don't ever be incredibly stupid like me and just assume that tour descriptions are telling the full truth. Sorry for the long essay. This was only 2 months ago, so it's still fresh in my mind. Just a few more minutes up there and I objectively would have died.